Welcome, listeners. I'm pleased to be able to offer this final conversation today as the last podcast for the 2025 series as we're coming towards the end of the year. And today I get to interview my favourite interviewee, which is John Michel. We've had several conversations on the podcast over the last few years on several topics, but today's topic's close to our heart for both of us. We're going to have a conversation about meditation. This is a word that is it has many connotations and variations to it, but today's conversation we're going to come from sort of getting to understand the classical yoga as taught by John Michel, and he's well known in this part of the world, in the southwest of Western Australia. I think you've been teaching yoga here and meditation for over 10 years. I think we met about 10 years ago or thereabouts.
About that.
Yeah.
Here, yes.
Yes, in this part of the world. And so you're teaching in the southwest and in bailing up and on the lawn at Cave's house, and you're also writing a book, I believe, about meditation. So, and it gave me great pleasure to attend your meditation workshop at the Yelling Up Wellness Expo a few months ago. And that was a great experience to be a part of, and we might talk about that a bit later on as we get going. So a lot to offer on the subject of meditation. I'm really looking forward to this conversation today, and I'm sure you'll all enjoy it. So tune in and sit back and have a cup of tea ready, and let's see where we go with this conversation, Jean Michel. Now, you've also just written an article, I think, about meditation as well on your newsletter.
Yes.
And I think that the subject of that was to do with, I think, the silence of the what do you call it? The quiet trance.
The quiet trance. Yes, the trance.
So that might be where we could open up. Do you think?
Okay. Yeah, sure. So, I mean, meditation is really fascinating because it has numerous different connotations and different meanings depending on the traditions, but ultimately, the higher steps of meditation, I would suggest, are trance-like. You get into this state which has parallels to trance-like qualities, and that's not necessarily the aim of it. That's not what you try to achieve, but rather that is one of the consequences. In the same way that by engaging with others, there's a sense of communal happiness that can be achieved, but you're not saying, I'm doing this to try to, where's the happiness? Happiness, it basically becomes one of the aspects to it. So I think a deeper aspect of meditation is a trance-like altered state of consciousness. I think might be even a better term than trance, but I try sometimes to use shorter words, virtually monosyllabic words in the newsletter. But yes, that's probably one of the qualities of samadhi, even that it is trance-like. Yeah. Even though there are different stages of samadhi, to use the yogic form. But I won't just be talking about the. I don't want to just focus on the yogic.
This is where it gets interesting.
Yeah, okay. Because I'll include other aspects, but it depends where the conversation is. Yeah, because sure. It's so vast. But what do they say? You can climb the mountain from an infinite number of points, but the summit is the same.
Yes. So, yeah. Awesome. And the time period, I mean, you've been practicing meditation for a long time yourself. And just as an outset, what are some of the benefits that you felt have been important in your life, in your journey, that you can contribute to your own personal meditation practice? I know in my instance, it was to discover meditation was a very important turning point in my life. And it helped immediately with what I was looking for at that time. I wanted better sleep. Yeah. I was waking up, broken sleep. I was on fight and flight too much. My nervous system was overactive. And so as a result, I wasn't as clear with my actions sometimes. And so life didn't flow as well as I wanted it to. So Davey and I started attending a once-a-week meditation class in Perth. And I would have to say that within a few weeks, because I was one of those people that, probably like you, I respected the teacher. I wanted to be able to demonstrate to that teacher that I was practicing what he taught me, and so that I come up next week and yes, I'd been doing this every day. And so that the benefits started to flow, I would say, within a few weeks.
Yeah.
And certainly within a few months. I was having better sleep.
Yeah.
I was responding better to situations which in the past may have
been more reactive.
Yes, and I maybe thought, worst case scenario would sort of, when we look at the options of which way something's going to play out, and we're trying to project which version to which path to follow. We can overthink it sometimes. So those benefits started to sort of come into my life, and then that's validation. So therefore, I've got to keep going with this.
Yeah.
So now it's a daily practice, and it has been for since then.
Yeah. Well, I'll answer it in a twofold way, because I think that on the one hand is what benefits have I found.
Yes.
So in my working life, when I was working in the context of education, my morning meditation often unveiled some of what I would have to face that day, which is really quite interesting, sometimes very specifically, even though I didn't know consciously beforehand. So it actually allowed me to actually have insight into situations that were forever present, but you're not necessarily consciously aware of it. The other part for myself, I haven't had problems sleeping, so that wasn't an issue. But I think one of the definite benefits is also this sense of inner calmness. So you can actually face situations which you have to face anyway with greater equanimity, which can also throw people off a little bit sometimes, because sometimes they think, well, isn't this affecting you? Well, yes, it is, but it doesn't mean that you're actually expressing it in a reactive way.
Yes.
Both, including sadness, including joy, so it goes to both the positive and negative extremes. That's part of the answer. I think that's probably the main thing for me, insight and greater equanimity. And then the other side to answering that question is, which in a more general form, one of the things that research has shown is that if you actually practice 12, 13 minutes a day, so it doesn't have to be half an hour or 1 hour or 3 hours a day, 12 to 13 minutes a day, every single day, doesn't even have to be the same time, but every single day for 2 months or for 8 weeks. So one of the research talks about 12 minutes for 8 weeks. The other one, it was 13 minutes for 2 months. So basically the same. Less than that, like 6 minutes isn't enough. And 20 minutes didn't seem to show significant differences. So, but 12, 13 minutes every day for 2 months, you have a decreased amygdala. So the amygdala in the brain is what makes you react to fear, flight, etc. You've got an increased prefrontal cortex activity, so greater capacity to think through problems, problem solving, etc. You have a better balanced blood. I've got to be very careful what I say here in terms of it, depending on how people hear it as well. But blood pressure can be regulated through meditation. And I'm not talking about extremes in which people might need to also seek medical assistance, okay? But I'm talking about, generally speaking, your blood pressure isn't going to suddenly shoot up and go down after. It's a reactive phase, so you're diminishing the reactive phase. And you basically have one of the other benefits that's been shown is, this is from the work on DNA with the length of telomeres, is that telomere length is actually accentuated or maintained, which diminishes the aging process. And that is the work of Elizabeth Blackburn from memory. I think
because we're both 80 years of age, aren't we?
Oh, at least, yeah. But I think she's the only Australian woman to have won the Nobel Prize for Science, and she discovered some of the aspects to do with telomeres and telomerase. So even at the cellular level,
because the telomere sort of is that template that is sort of being reduced by the reproduction, like a photocopier, isn't it? You do a photocopy of a photocopy, it starts to get duller and duller after so many prints. So that each cell's, after so many cells being, produced in our body, it's the
telomere link. So the telomere link, the description that she gives and other people give is the end of shoelaces, that part that's actually wound up to actually prevent the shoelace tearing, fraying. So that part gets diminished until eventually the whole DNA sequence kind of frays, metaphorically frays, which then the cell has to not be able to be duplicated.
Right.
And that causes that is linked to the aging process. The word cause is a little bit problematic because it doesn't necessarily cause, it's a reflection of the aging process, one of the reflections of it. So if meditation has that benefit, it increases the capacity to think clearly, so to have insight. You're talking about clarity of mind. Yeah,
or viveka, I think we call it in
the
Yoga Sutras.
That's right, yes. We can talk about the Yoga Sutras too. That'd be good. If you decrease your reactivity through decreasing the size of the amygdala, if you're balancing out blood pressure, if you're actually increasing the oxygen levels in the blood, all through meditation and other benefits too.
And there's now the proof that the neural pathways, neuroplasticity is a real thing, and which means that we're not hardwired to be, have to be fixed in one set of patterns for our whole life. That we can form and create new patterns, whether it's
that's right.
And so the physiological benefits which you've just outlined there, and then we've got these neurological benefits as well. All this is well established science now, isn't it?
Now I think it's pretty very clear. For me, however, that's kind of the scientific research that backs it up.
Yes.
Because I don't think many of us do something because of the scientific research. Some people do, okay? But so if somebody does do it,
people want to look at it, it's readily available now.
PubMed, look up PubMed on the internet.
Yes.
Which is the medical publications basically. So PubMed.com, I think. And literally tens of thousands of articles on the benefits of meditation.
So you're recommending from your research that you've undertaken and the articles that you've written that the data is pointing to this magical sort of time period as a minimum of what, 10 to 12 minutes, okay. Which is not a lot in anybody's life. Not a lot to ask for yourself, is it? To get up 10 or 12 or 15 minutes earlier, particularly in the mornings, it seems to be. Before the day starts, our brainwave patterns. We're still in that, still coming out of the theta delta brain sleep patterns. So we haven't moved into full beta brainwave patterns, which is where we get on, as we're analysing the day and what has to happen in the day. And
so I think there's two things there. Again, one is that in terms of the research, the research wasn't making any statements whatsoever about the time of day. It wasn't even making any statements about whether or not it should be the same time of day. However, I'll call it the esoteric traditions, both East and West, do talk about the benefits of actually doing a very early morning meditation, a pre-dawn meditation or a dawn meditation.
My favorite time. Sure.
Me too, for different reasons, but And I think part of it is that in that early morning state, what happens is pre-dawn. So dawn is actually the time before sunrise.
Right.
And there's, as a side benefit to that, there's actually a statement by Peter Dunov regarding the guy that brought paneurythmy from Bulgaria. But one of the statements he made, and Steiner made something very similar, he says, if you want to diminish any kind of languishing in forms of depression, you look at the rising sun in the morning, even if you go back to bed afterwards. And depression, by the way, is also positively impacted by meditation.
Yes, that's a good thing to remind.
Anxiety is also diminished with meditation. So lots of psychological benefits. Now, In the pre-dawn or in the dawn aspect of the time of the day, the body's reaction to the magnetic sphere of the Earth is supposed to be different. Now, I'm not talking about some of the scientific evidence for that anymore. I'm talking about the esoteric traditions to do with it. So even morning walks barefoot on the grass grounds you in a particular way that doing a barefoot walk in the afternoon will not do as deeply. The physical body is, of course, also a magnetic body where we are.
So get out of bed before sunrise and walk around your house and then sit in the garden and 12 minutes of meditation.
Yeah, but even if you just step outside.
Yes.
And in winter, it might be really cold. And of course, here, comparatively speaking, it's not that cold compared to other parts of the world. Yes. But it can still get pretty cold. Walk outside, ground even for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, go back in, do your meditation, and in front of the fire, stay warm. That's the other thing too. I always suggest to people, get a blanket when you're doing a meditation. Put the blanket around you, stay comfortably warm. Depending on the form of meditation you do, you might increase your body heat anyway. We can talk about the suggestions for meditation too, if you like.
Because if we're on this theme of the early morning meditation, I guess one of the risks for some people is that, and even I've experienced it, is that you're still sleepy, so you're half, your mind's not fully active yet. But meditation does require some level of focus and some level of concentration, and it requires presence as well, to be fully present and to be fully grounded and to be with yourself in that moment and not drifting off back to sleep. So I guess some of these techniques that help us stay in that active but open state, so that we can observe the inner dialogue, the inner narrative, the inner conversation, and whatever else comes up. So there's, how do you approach that?
I'll go straight to the Yoga Sutras, but also talk about the Western esoteric tradition as well. If we just skip the yamas and the niyamas, the first two of the 8 limbs of yoga, the third one is the asanas, which literally means seated posture. But it basically, when you're waking up in the morning, before you even go outside or doing anything else, do a stretch. Even if it's a stretch when you're still lying down, bringing your knee up, really squashing the knee, pulling the toes away, doing a physical stretch that allows you to wake up the body, to move the small muscles in the body in a manner that allows you to actually be more embodied, so awakened, embodied. And then you can actually start to see, you can walk outside, but even if you were to do straight away a meditation sitting on the bed without even getting up. So I'm not suggesting that's the best, but I'm saying that might be something some people
it works for a lot of people.
Exactly, yeah. So, then you can sit up and you'll be, because you've already woken up your body, that's the first part. So the asana posture, what posture are you going to take? So in the posture, you want your spine to be elongated. The problem is with lying down, and I do know one person that habitually does meditation lying down. I would not suggest it. Most people go back to a dreamy state or sleep. But your posture with the upright spine, and both the East and the West do place a fair bit of importance on the elongated upright spine. One reason for that, which I might come back to in a short while, is the flow of the cerebral spinal fluid within the brain and down and up the spine, hence cerebral spinal fluid. Really important element there. If you're lying down, the flow is very different. You're not going to get that same flow up and down the spine. So posture is going to be very important. Where the hands are, to me, is less important. You might use a particular mudra, a particular hand position. You may not. The point is, whatever seated position you're then in,
Yes.
are you sufficiently comfortable given your body type, given your age, given your, or our age, given maybe even what you haven't digested properly from the night before, given the warmth in the room, etc. Are you sitting in a sufficiently comfortable position that you can maintain that position for 3 hours? We're not going to meditate for 3 hours. We're going to meditate for 12, 13 minutes. But if you are seated in a position that you can maintain relatively comfortably, or you think you can maintain relatively comfortably for 3 hours, chances are your body is not going to be a distraction to the meditative state that when you enter it, if you enter it. Like anything, it's practice as well. So to learn to drive a car, initially you're focused on all the elements and then it comes of its own accord. So here you're sitting in a posture. So step 1, posture with elongated spine, given who you are, given how you are feeling at the time. The Western tradition is often on a chair. You can be still upright, whether the hands are flat down or up, usually flat down in most Western traditions. Sometimes one of the fists gently closed, sometimes called the pharaoh posture, but also your head isn't benched over. It's actually elongated. The back of the head is elongated and the chin therefore comes down a tiny little bit. That gives the best aspect for the spine to be elongated. I never say straight because the spine is never straight. If you look at it sideways, it has to have those natural curves. If it doesn't have the natural curves, again, it won't flow properly. And if you've got some aspects of your spine that's actually curved in a different form, allow yourself to be comfortable. Over time, it will elongate and become better. Going again, the Yoga Sutras. After the asana posture, really important, you've got the pranayama. Just focus initially on the breath. I'm not going to go into pranayama,
yes.
But just allow a gentle, focused attention. You're talking about the attention before, the focus on the breath.
The dharana, or the drishti, yes.
Or the drishti is also that's right, it's where you have the eyes, but it's the internal eyes. So where is your mental focus in that sense of drishti? So here, what is your breath doing? And I suggest actually going from behind the heart, from roughly the spine area, and I'm just observing the whole lungs and observing the diaphragm move. It will virtually instantly slow the breath down. An interesting thing about the breath is that of the whole parasympathetic nervous system, it's the one aspect you can easily control. You can speed up your breath or slow down your breath, and that impacts the whole parasympathetic nervous system. So, and the vagus nerve is attached to a lot of these, the different parts of the body that controls even digestion, etc. So you've got posture, you've got breath, just observing the breath. Then I would suggest you increase concentration so you don't lose that energetic form, whether you do it first or now, it doesn't really matter. You apply gentle mulaband, a root lock. So basically around the perineum, just squeezing or pelvic floor exercise tightening, in other words, bringing the belly back, tightening around sex organs, anus a tiny little bit. It's not a major cramping, it's a gentle energetic tightening. And likewise, a gentle pulling the head up from the back, chin comes down. It creates a gentle Jalandhaband, a gentle neck lock. It's a very, very gentle one. They're the energetic forms. There's also the Uddiyana Band, one focus there for now. And so therefore here, the easiest way again to maintain that the Jalandhaband is to bring the tongue out and then curve it up, touching the roof of the mouth. There is actually a different lock we can do with that, but one go there. It's a gentle putting the tongue pointing to the roof of the mouth. What does that do? So there was a study that was done in Germany about 10, 12 years ago, and I found that one very fascinating. It was related to an anthroposophical study, to a Steiner-based study. What happened is Steiner talked about that whenever you hear somebody else talk, your tongue vibrates the same sounds. And what they did is they clamped a person's tongue. Mm-hmm. And therefore that ceased the vibration to some extent.
Doesn't sound like much fun, but...
No, that's right. No, but for the study. And what happens in yogic traditions,
Yes.
by curling the tongue up and pushing it up, you're actually doing your own internal cramping, which means meandering thoughts are lessened. So the monkey mind is automatically calmed.
Yes.
Not totally, but it's just calmed.
Yes.
So again, this is related to posture, but it's also related now to focused attention.
Yes.
That's about. And then pratyahara, in terms of, again, in pratyahara, sensing through the body, are there any discomforts? Are there any ease? Go into that, make some minor readjustments, occasionally refocus on, is the mulaband applied? What's the breath doing? What's the tongue doing? And then bringing your consciousness to the very center where the pineal and the third ventricle are. The third ventricle contains cerebrospinal fluid. It's otherwise a hollow.
The cave of Brahman.
The cave of Brahman, yep. Yep. And from there, the cerebrospinal fluid, which has been measured to actually have photons in there. You can measure the light that is actually flowing. So I've talked a lot, but from there they just remain in stillness. I wouldn't put music on.
Yes.
For that part, if we go, when you're in a meditative state, you're not doing a guided visualization. No. You're not doing a relaxation. No. You're past those states.
Yes.
That's my overly brief description there. So I've gone and... So
I'm glad there's so much in there. We can unpack a lot of what you've put in there. And there's
so much I haven't said, even within each step.
Anybody listening to this to, just wind back that last 5-10 minutes and unpack what John Michel has just laid out. Everything from the cerebral spinal fluid to the bandhas, which are the energy locks, which are critical to many forms of yoga, to the focus and the attention that's required, to getting the position right. There's so much in it, and I guess from a state of mind point of view, we can put a lot of conditions on ourselves about whether we've got all that right or we haven't got it right, and then the narrative can start up about that, and we can start judging ourselves for that, and then that can we can observe that as well. And the beautiful thing about meditation, even that can become a valuable exercise in itself, just observing how you're responding. Is it taking too long? Why do I think it's taking too long? Am I doing it right? So all these questions, if they start to arrive, are not to be resisted or to be rejected either, because
that's right.
They're actually bringing them into attention, because normally they might be going on subconsciously anyway, this conversation, but in that environment, in that seated, quiet position you're in, you can really start to be, have your own little laboratory going on where you're really observing what's happening internally. And I guess from my point of view, one of the steps that I incorporated, and I often talk about it as an intention that I remind myself of, is before I go into meditation, is that I'm just going to allow myself to be in a state where nothing needs to be fixed. Nothing needs to be put right. I'm not meditating because I need to fix something, or because I've got a problem, or because I've got to find calm and ease, and I've got to ease the nervous system. I actually want to diffuse all of those demands on myself and just allow this moment to be exactly as it is, how it is, and with whatever is happening. You go through the sequence of events to set myself up to then rest in that unconditional state and allow the meditation to then perform its own magic in its own way, which is coming into that space.
To be able to contemplate that which is, and to behold it. The two key Western words that are used in the meditative tradition. To behold, just to behold, not to try to judge, not to try to change, not to try to, and to contemplate that which is
there's an aspect of ourself which is whole and has never like we can go through life and most days we're thinking about what we need to improve, what we need to fix, what we need to get, what we need to sort out, and we're problem solving. And that's fine. That's how we go about our day. But give ourselves a break from that for a moment. And that's, to me, one of the other important aspects of that meditation phase is having a break from that.
Yes.
Right? It's the opposite of that. In that moment, we're not problem solving.
No,
we're not
right.
projecting into the future or hashing over the past. It might come up. We can behold it, but we don't have to solve any of those issues in those 15 minutes. And
the beauty of doing it that way is, even if there is a problem,
yes,
even a relationship problem,
yes,
for example,
absolutely,
instead of trying to find a solution to it,
yes,
you're just you're observing it. You might suddenly have new insights into how wrong the other person went, into your role in it that you were oblivious to as well.
Yes.
So it could be that just the beholding, the contemplation, the just looking, the stepping back and observing becomes a really important element, but certainly not to try to fix things, because it's the word for truth in ancient Greek is aletheia, which literally means unveil.
Yes.
So you need to allow that which is presenting itself to unveil itself to its essential characteristics, to its truth.
Yes.
And then insights and understanding can arise. And in the Kabbalistic tradition, of course, understanding is higher than knowledge. You've got knowledge, but knowledge is already prefixed in some way, but understanding and wisdom are higher than knowledge. And so you've got these which need to be virtually be revealed as kind of manifestations from the spiritual world, which is a little bit distinct. And I know that goes on to other different parts of as we reach towards samadhi then, but and
I put it in sort of layman's language. We will all be familiar with those aha moments.
Yes.
And quite often when we have an aha moment, we'll sort of look up. It's just sort of acknowledging that this is something like it's been downloaded. It's something that has appeared in our field of awareness. Right, and even great breakthroughs in science, and throughout, you can read the stories of many people who've had great, like inventors, and they've had these breakthrough moments, these aha moments, these moments of clarity following meditation.
Yes,
and they've admitted it, that they found the answer to a formula or an invention or something after meditation, not while they're over the notebooks, deep buried in their analysis. They put the analysis aside and gone into a state of meditation. There it is. Right? Not that they've necessarily gone asking for the answer, no, because that would be sort of contrary to what we've said a few moments ago. But it's a feature of meditation that we're opening up to a field that it's within us, that it's greater than our the day-to-day sort of operating mode.
So that brings another element that we haven't talked about yet, which is the state of flow.
Right.
And so again, just bringing a little bit of neuroscience back in here. So you've got, you mentioned theta waves, you mentioned alpha waves, beta waves when we're actually normal awake state is beta, alpha waves in the brain when we're quite relaxed. But what's interesting is that experienced meditators and also people that are in a state of flow, both have the same heightened brain waves called gamma waves. So it's as if you've got theta waves very, very quiet when you're sleeping, and you've also got delta waves, the alpha waves when you're just relaxed, deep breathing, beta waves when you're actually quite awake, but gamma waves are very fast, like this, in comparison. In a deep state of meditation, they're very short, And so in deep state of meditation, you actually enter a gamma phase, or you can enter a gamma phase. Now, normally that's been measured with experienced meditators. So, and the state of flow.
That's when the whole sort of brain lights up as one cohesive.
And it's also cohesive, that's right, And rather than just one section. It's actually
normally when we're thinking parts of the brain are lighting up, as different parts of the brain are responsible for different activities. but when the gamma phase comes in, the whole brain lights up as one, doesn't it?
I'm not sure if it's just the gamma, but there's also the cohesive brainwave pattern in which it's as if everything is resonating together.
It's another feature of experience.
Another feature, that's right. And so you want that resonant brain, right and left hemispheres, and old brain, new brain, resonating together as a whole, as well as that heightened, very fast phase, which gives you a total state of flow.
Yes.
And I think if I remember what I wanted to possibly say in that newsletter when I talked about meditation as a trance-like state, that is the part, that is, if you like, the neuroscientific aspect that I want to talk about, that it is the brain is in a wholesome phase, it's coherent, it's not one part doing this, the other part doing that. It's fully coherent, but also in the state of flow, very fast gamma waves.
Yes.
And again, that's not it's not that common apparently, and it doesn't happen to experienced meditators. It doesn't happen all the time.
No.
But it is relatively common in very experienced meditators. Most people, when they go into a meditative phase, I call it the early meditative phase, it goes into the alpha wave, but you want the alpha waves to also be coherent.
Yes.
And that is quite an achievement. It means your whole brain can suddenly relax, and you can be, your monkey mind kind of diminishes because it's suddenly in phase with the alpha waves of the rest of the brain. That is that real deep calm as well that comes. Nice. So thanks for mentioning that. I would have totally omitted for the discussion. Yeah.
You know, I'm going to sort of take us on another path now because it's related to this, but it's the more active meditation forms. We've been up so far in this conversation, we're talking about sort of like classical meditation that, which you've outlined really well, and you know the benefits of that classical meditation state, that 12 minutes sitting, quiet, still, at ease with yourself, going within. And then there's the meditation that we're familiar with from Kundalini practices, which include mantra and movement as well.
Yes.
But particularly, I wanted to come around and get your thoughts on the power of mantra. We're talking about coherence and frequency, and then combining mantra with mudra. And now we're adding layers.
Yes, that's right.
So we're getting more complex here. But if we're talking about quietening the monkey mind, I know in my own experience and with feedback from people practicing mantra that the feedback is that it's been the first time in their lives that they've really experienced the silencing of the monkey mind, and they've gone into that stillness and that peace and that brainwave that they haven't experienced before. So it's sort of like, it's paradoxical, isn't it? We're actually doing something that's quite involved, but it can lead to an amazing inner stillness, an amazing inner peace.
Totally. I think the mantra or the equivalent is both steps towards and also when you achieve it, steps beyond it as well.
Yes.
So, and because we're unlikely to talk about it, I'll talk about the Isaki tradition in the Russian Orthodox tradition a little bit with the Jesus prayer. So it's exactly the equivalent. It's basically this mantra that gets repeated. Here it's a very short prayer. It gets repeated. But the state you have to get to, both with the mantra and within that tradition, and within some of the non-Orthodox traditions in the West, is you've got to get to the stage, ideally, where the mantra repeats itself, and you're listening to it.
Yes.
You're no longer...
you nailed it.
And so you get to a stage where initially, you're saying it doesn't matter what the mantra is, and of course
the breath's involved as
and
well.
the breath's involved.
Breath and mantra are sort of intertwined, interweaved.
And some of the research found that both the East and the West have roughly the same duration for the mantra repeat, and also in the Western the short prayers that you used. which calms the breath, and you're doing it with the breath, absolutely, and also with the heartbeat, and that's really fascinating too. So it's as if, so there's another, apart from that tradition, there's also another more recent tradition based on an early Christian tradition, which the World Council for Christian Meditation, I think, uses. They generally use the term Maranatha. Others, like the centering prayer, also uses a mantra. So I'm mentioning some of the Christian forms here only because I'm going to ultimately, otherwise we're ultimately going to
these traditions are branches, aren't they? Of,
absolutely.
You know, their roots, you know.
But the way of the pilgrim talks about is in that tradition. And once you actually get the mantra to repeat itself, you can virtually stop saying it and just with kind of inner joy, just look at it, just actually behold it, and it's actually doing it for you. So even in terms of Kundalini yoga, even if you are holding, you know, a particular posture for 31 minutes or whatever, I'll skip, remind me to say something about the 12-13 minutes versus the 20-31 minutes if I don't. But if you are holding a longer posture for a long time, the posture itself, you cease to become aware of the posture, the same way that cease to become active, consciously active in the mantra, but rather the mantra becomes active in you. The posture supports you in the particular meditation, I'll call it meditation, that you're actually in. And again, a trance-like quality, you transcend the physical into an awakening focus that then allows some unveiling or revelation to actually occur. And again, a form of the early parts of samadhi there.
And I would use the word flow state for that as well. You know, we've talked about it as a brainwave flow, the gamma brainwave, but I'd also say that in mantra, that moment we've talked about where the mantra takes over, you're not consciously having to remember it, you're simply observing, okay? And you're there's an expanded level, I would say, of presence in that, you know, we become, our presence expands. I guess that's the only really way I can put it. And then one of my definitions of the flow state is that we're where we need to be when we need to be, without having to think about it. Because even in an athlete, like an extreme athlete, the flow state's been associated with extreme athletic activities. You know, most people sort of are familiar with it from that point of view. And that is a flow state. I mean, and those athletes know that flow state is operating them. I mean, they couldn't achieve what they had to achieve if they had to think about it every step of the way. No, the body's just taken over and it's on automatic. And whether it's a wing glider or paraglider or, you know, extreme downhill ski or something, they're turning before they thought about turning. And there's that, I think it's a Japanese or Tibetan cone or something that said, the student asked the master, when's the best time to release the arrow when you're, you know, aiming at a target? And the answer was to release it before you thought about releasing it. That's the best time to release it. So these are sort of qualities, I would say, of the flow state, and they arrive in that.
I agree. So, that's wonderful. And it really again brings us to something you said earlier about being in the present, being in the moment, which is a little bit different in mindfulness. I think mindfulness is being aware of, which is a really important quality as well. But personally, I don't think of mindfulness as being an aspect of meditation. It's as if it's a pre-aspect of meditation, which is an important quality. The same way that you really focus on your breath, it's a pre-aspect. Your posture is a pre-aspect. There are many things that are pre-aspect.
Setting the stage.
You're setting the stage. Some of them are more difficult to do than others. A focused attention is, for most of us, difficult to do. And even those of us that might regularly practice or have regularly practiced for a long time, it doesn't mean it's always there. Certainly not for me. You know, many times I do get distracted.
And one of the techniques that you used and I know it's a common tantric technique, in the workshop that we did at the Yelling Up Wellness Expo, which was our third year and was very successful this year. We might have a talk to Davey about how it went this year in the lead up for next year. But in that meditation that you led there, you included a visualization, and this is, some people work with visualization really well. So some people drop straight into it.
Yes, yeah.
I know Davey does much more than I do. So what's your sort of advice there on those sort of techniques if visualization isn't your strong point? Is it are you missing something in the meditation or not? I mean,
no, I don't think you're missing that.
I love this one that you gave at the workshop where you asked everybody, you went through the steps you've just outlined of sitting up, erect, lengthening the back, relaxing the jaw, doing the breath, and then you drew our attention into our heart space.
Right.
And I think you invited us to visualize, to have a visualization there that then you shifted to outside the body. And then
saw the after image.
Yeah, so maybe you could take us, how does that?
Okay. So sometimes what we do is we often hold. It's very useful that for anyone that holds particular. You haven't been able to forgive something, or it doesn't have to be really serious, but you're still holding on to something.
Gripping, yeah.
So it doesn't have to be near the heart; could be anywhere in the body. And so you allow yourself this. You go through pratyahara. You withdraw the senses from the outside. You internalize the senses. See if there's something that's actually holding on to in your body.
Yes.
Give it an image. Actually allow it to have a particular form. It could be anything from a flower to a sandwich to a dinosaur. It doesn't matter, whether to a car or to whatever. It doesn't really matter. And then you allow that image to actually, you just put it outside of your body next to you. Mm-hmm. And then you observe, you're still observing that, but then you also observe, what is the after image? What new image takes its place now? The reason I'm using the term after image is it's often something that complements it, that is virtually the opposite. That is something that you would have wished maybe that was there instead of. But it doesn't have to be a wish. It just, again, you observe. You're not trying to create. You're observing another image. But then the important part is this. You're allowing that one to also emerge from you, and you merge it with the other image. So they don't cancel each other out. They kind of reduce each other together.
Yes.
But then you also observe what is the emptiness there, what is now what is now actually formed. And it's usually a very healing and a healing form that actually replaces that. And then you just allow those to kind of dissolve out. Right. So that is that form of healing meditation, I'll call it, is something that is also used in some anthroposophically or Steiner-based healing methodologies as well. It's very close to that. Yeah. Let me go back to that 12-minute, because just for a second, because we started off by saying the 12, 13 minutes in terms of the research. And of course, most traditions talk about 20 minutes, 31 minutes, 1 hour, 3 hours, whatever.
Right.
Now, why do most, even some of the Buddhist works, talk about 12 up to 15 minutes? Couple of reasons. One, if you're doing a meditation by yourself, if we've really, really repressed something, if we go up to 15 minutes, it's unlikely to emerge. In the context of a meditation retreat, a Vipassana or whatever form of meditation retreat, again, Christian meditation retreat, whatever form, we are held by others. If we have something really repressed, if it is going to pop up, and I'll use the term pop rather than gently awake, if it is going to pop up, it usually will be around the 17-minute mark. Now, if you don't have the means to cope with that, it can really overwhelm you. So there's another reason to stick to up to 15 minutes only. If you're pretty confident or you've gone through longer meditations, fine, do longer meditations. My usual meditation is 31 minutes, but I'm not suggesting we do that. what the research has found is that the benefits to 12, 13 minutes is like this, and then it kind of plateaus out. And it plateaus out, not a direct plateau, it's just a minor increase until you reach the 3-hour mark. So there isn't a huge increase in benefit between the 12, 13 minutes and the 3 hours. But there is something that, like I said, that can pop up around the 17-minute mark. So with other people that can really support you, and if it is something truly repressed, you don't know you've repressed it, otherwise it wouldn't be repressed. And you can deal with things that aren't repressed, that you're semi-conscious of in a 12, 13 minutes anyway. So, and I know a few people that have had childhood repressions that have popped up around the 17, 18-minute mark. So I'm not suggesting not to go do longer ones. I think there's great benefit in doing 20, 22, 30, 31-minute meditations, but be really aware that at least when you start doing them, maybe to have somebody else present that you can share if anything does pop up that you weren't aware of, that can be there to support you. Because it can be, for some people, it can be a traumatic experience that can arise otherwise, that they weren't aware of.
You know, that's an important aspect to include in the conversation, because, you know, we're dealing with the real world, with people with real lives, with real backgrounds, and, you know, we've all been touched or influenced in our lives in some ways that at some stage of life we haven't dealt with at that time of our life. I think it would be a very rare person, and I think, you know, I don't know whether I've met someone yet who hasn't had some things in their lives which they haven't dealt with at that time in their life. Particularly at a young age, example from myself. When you don't know how to deal with it, so what do? Okay, I'll deal with that later. Well, push it down so you didn't respond the way you naturally like to respond in an outburst or whatever. So I'll deal with that later. Well, 20 years can go past, 30 years can go past. That's right, yes, yeah. You still haven't dealt with it. So, yes. And when we talk about this, you know, the cerebral spinal fluid and the activating it and the pineal gland and the benefits of these insights, etc., that flow from meditation, the ability for those insights and for that the expanded state of sort of awareness to arrive is going to be influenced by the level of issues that we've held on to, that we have repressed, and that are still feeding those samskaras. Talk about samskaras. Yes, that's right. So they're still feeding, they're below the conscious mind, but they're still operating in terms of how we react and respond to things.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's a storehouse, I guess. Not that we're actively sort of trying to drain that, but I believe that anyone who continues with their meditation practice will eventually come to grips with these issues in their life.
And then you can transform them. And they don't have to be...
And that's the good news.
And they don't have to be massive repressions either. So the example for myself I was thinking of before, and that came up for me when I was doing some work on using Ignatian meditation quite a number of years ago. And it was a very silly situation. Describing it seems petty. I was probably 12, 13 years old. We were building an above ground swimming pool, and I had a post at the top it's a curved one. And I looked at it, it's curved this way. So instead of turning it and putting it on, I thought it's curved this way. I look at the round swimming pool, so I walk over to the other side to put it on. When I walk over the other side, of course, I realize I have to turn it. I wasn't thinking, I was just, but a comment that one of the adults there made to me, "Are you stupid or something?" It was nothing in the scheme of things.
But you're 12, 13, it's a very formative age for your...
And it was, at that time, the way it was said was just, and it was dismissed. It wasn't a big deal at all.
No.
But it's something I'd repressed.
Yes.
And it's something that obviously had impacted me very deeply. So I'm giving that as an example. It doesn't have to be when people talk about things that we have repressed, people automatically assume the absolute worst. No, it doesn't have to be the absolute worst, but it's a situation which has impacted us and forms even...
Like if your mum forgot to make your lunch one day when you're going to school and you get to school and your lunchbox is empty.
Right.
And that's...
It could be nothing. You could laugh it off, or depending on you,
correct.
It could be something you.
It could be very meaningful. It could be
very meaningful
for the rest of your life.
And then it shapes how you even do things as an adult, and to be aware of that, to see how it says shaped, and that is where meditation can also be a very healing, transformative practice.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Davey and I went to a Gabor Mate workshop many years ago. And one of the things that he talked about and became apparent for us that was just as real as the impacts that have happened to us over life. Gabor Mate also talks about what didn't happen to us as well.
Yes, right.
As having an impact.
Yes.
Like, maybe not getting picked up, getting that nurturing, having that support there can stay with us through a lifetime as well. So.
Yeah, and prevent some normal developmental processes from occurring. Yes, yeah, absolutely. So again, meditation is, in that sense, can help to challenge and to transform, I was going to say transmute, because it does help to transmute really.
Yeah.
There's lead into gold. Yeah.
Now my approach is to see, I see meditation as that sort of like that cauldron, all right, that everything comes back to. So you've got your study, we both like studying, we both like reading, we both like practicing and teaching, and just going on our own journey and learning more about ourselves. And so you're taking in as you go along, but we're householders, we have things to do during the day. We're not living, in a mountain somewhere or in a monastery where we can contemplate all day. And I wouldn't want to, by the way. I'd much rather be in a household with everything that brings along. So that moment that I treasure that moment in the mornings and the evenings where I can just sit and be at ease and be at peace and just digest everything that's happening in that day or has happened in that day, and just allow it to settle down, really.
And on that, in the evening one of Steiner's important recommendations is towards the end of the day, to review the day backwards.
Right, I have heard that, yeah.
So to the day's review, so what is currently happening right now, I'm about to go to bed.
Right.
And going work your way back, yes. And then to distinguish between the essential and the non-essential.
Right.
Because sometimes something that may have happened during the day, you may have not really paid too much attention to, but then you realize in the backward flow that has actually was an important seed. And just to be conscious of that element that can actually come to fruition, even in a few years' time, but to come to fruition in some form and to allow it to maybe be nurtured or to allow it to not be repressed if it's something that happened that was more significant. So the daily backward meditation or backward reflection on the day's events can lead to a different form of meditation as well. That's a really good one.
So we've covered a lot of territory, Jean Michel. There's hit a lot of points, and I think I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I've really enjoyed your input as usual. You brought a lot.
No, likewise. Thank you.
Brought a lot to the conversation, and people need to. They need to, I think, incorporate meditation in their lives, and I think you would say that as well. I hear a lot of my friends say that their form of meditation is riding or surfing or cycling, and I say that's great. There's lots of benefits from that, but why not add this? Why not add a formal process of meditation? And what have you got to lose?
Yeah.
It's 10, 15 minutes of your day. Take it on board, and you'll get the benefits from it. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, John Michel.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.